Three, two, one. Hello, welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we talk about DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Anthony. I'm with
I'm Brian.
my usual co-host. And
Yeah.
today we have a special guest today, the guest host of Too Many Movies, the podcast I just quoted, Citizen Hal. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, I'm Citizen Hal. The following podcast is true. And by true, I mean false. It's all lies. But they're entertaining lies. And in the end, isn't that the real truth? The answer is no.
All right. So we got another guest episode here today. It's nice to have
Probably the biggest guest we've had on thus far, if that means anything.
Yeah.
The biggest guest. Hey,
I guess so.
I'm honored.
You might you might know him as the host of Too Many Movies. So, yeah. So, I actually made a cameo on the podcast, but not like as a guest. I used my iconic Morgan Freeman voice changer, and I decided to record some April Fool's Day thing for one of the episodes. So.
That was you.
Me.
What are you talking about? No, what are you talking about? I had the real Morgan Freeman on.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. We just sound
you should bring back the Morgan Freeman voice.
We just sound so similar. That's hard.
That's true. We do get you two mixed up a lot. It's totally.
You gotta bring back the Morgan Freeman voice changer sometime. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe he'll be our next special guest.
With special guest Morgan Freeman on the schizophrenia episode.
Just me talking to myself.
Yeah.
There isn't much else for the intro. He's Hal. You might know him. We've actually mentioned him. I think we mentioned his Letterboxd account once in some certain review he made of American Psycho. So.
Oh, he did? I don't remember that.
I remember you mentioned that in our American Psycho's discussion.
I think
when you quoted it.
I do remember listening to that episode and you guys like mentioning or I think it was you, Brian. You said he said the best horror movies are those that aren't that like scare you with like their themes and stuff. And I'm like, I did say that.
I remember now.
I don't think I said that with American Psycho. I don't remember which.
I remember. I wasn't. I think you said it about like. Oh fuck! What is it?
I don't know. I hope you would remember. I mean, here's the thing. I know I am the one who said it, so I should be the one who remembers it.
I remember it wasn't about American Psycho, but it was like something else. It was
it applied to American Psycho.
Yeah. It was as an example.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, I guess, we have two movies to talk about today. It's a bit different, a bit laid back compared to all the massive ones we've done lately, such as the Leprechaun movies, the entire Owl House, the three random early 90s, 80s comedies with some movie dude, or whatever years. But, so I guess, it's nice to go back to more simple, with just two movies and a guest like we used to. So, nice to get back
kind
to
of
basic.
Similar movies, might I add.
So similar, so similar. Like, they're eerily similar, you could say. I'd say, like, they have very similar protagonists. Yeah. So, before we get to that, we'll do our traditional news thing. There isn't really much, but, I guess since we've already talked about a lot about Illumination's plans with Nintendo. We have recently got an announcement of a Zelda movie supposedly being in talks, which I'm not the biggest fan of this idea. No offense, even though I haven't even played a Zelda game, but.
See, I've always respected the Zelda franchise. I've played a couple of their games, and they're good, but I don't care about them that much. I haven't been motivated to finish any of them. Part of that just because I play way less games now. But even ignoring that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much investment in this. I just don't like the idea that Illumination's just going to keep making all Nintendo adaptations.
I think they should switch with other studios. I think it would
I don't know. Because the thing is, Mario was it was fine. We've talked about Mario, I swear, a million fucking times.
Yeah, we won't talk about our thoughts on the movie anymore.
But Mario's fine, but I feel like if they keep going with Illumination, they're either just gonna keep making fine adaptations, arguably worse than that, since it's Illumination. They're not going to make anything that good.
Uh-huh.
That kind of sucks. But also, like I said, I don't care about Zelda much.
Yeah, of course.
Thinking of getting into the games, like play Breath of the Wild or something at some point. The new game, Tears of the Kingdom. Is that the right title?
I think so.
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay, I thought I forgot. Yeah, I might get into that at some point, and maybe I'll probably play at least one game when this comes out. I'm predicting it comes out in 2024, 2025. That's like my prediction. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm into this idea of Illumination making all these like Nintendo properties. Like I've tolerated Mario, but like I don't know. I feel like move on to other studios.
I feel like Mario worked as well as it did because it's such a cartoony IP, and Illumination is really good. Well, they're really good at all things considered when it comes to cartoony movies. So Mario kind of fit a little better with their brand, so to say. Whereas I feel like Zelda, you take a little more seriously.
Yeah. Plus, like, at least from what I know, Zelda has more of like an actual story to it. Like now with Mario, that's like really simple, so you could just get into that and like take a simple thing. But I don't know, if they're gonna try to make a 90-minute Zelda movie, they're either gonna rush for a bunch of stuff or like have to readapt it entirely, and I don't know how they're gonna end up doing that.
I mean, you can do a 90-minute fantasy movie like the Dark Crystal, for example. But yeah, no, just because there's one example of it working out does not mean it's going to work out, and especially with somebody like Illumination behind it. No, I do not see this working out. Again, I'm like you guys. I'm not totally a Zelda head. I've played like the first 10 minutes of Twilight Princess and I got bored. So that's the extent of my experience with Zelda. And I did when I was in high school, our marching band, our show for marching band was the Legend of Zelda, like music from the games. So
nice.
That kicked ass. That was awesome because we got to play like the Zelda music, and the Zelda music is really good. But my favorite marching band show will always be when I was a sophomore and we played the songs from The Incredibles. So
that sounds nice.
Oh dude, it was so cool.
I don't have too much to say. I just think like I don't know if this like type of I agree with what a lot of people are saying, but while I don't know much about Zelda, I have a feeling from what I've heard about the game's overall tone, it won't fit as well with like Illumination's like goofy stuff. Honestly, as much as I don't like Illumination most of the time, I think a property like Kirby would fit them better.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. No, because like they have to go for all the simple ones. Because I don't know, something like Zelda or like all the other ones, I can't see where it go. But if they're doing like Mario or like Kirby or like,
I had a feeling that like Zelda would be next for like the adaptation Nintendo treatment, since it's like one of their more popular brands.
Oh, it makes sense that Zelda's the next one. It just doesn't make sense that Illumination would be behind it.
I feel like there's just a lot of other studios that I feel like could have handled something like this well.
Yeah.
This was
Zelda.
I mean, obviously, I know why. It's because they work with Universal heavily now. So it's like, well, aren't you going to go to their big studio now?
Yeah, and again, Mario is such a juggernaut of a success. It's just like, oh, well, it worked out the first time. It's going to work out every other time we do it. It's like,
not going to do as well as the Mario movie. Definitely not.
No.
Definitely
Zelda is popular, but it's not going to be. It's not as big of a brand.
No, definitely not.
I can't call Zelda niche because that's just not. It's not true. But I don't know. It doesn't have like the mass appeal. Like anyone can be like, oh yeah, I know what Mario is.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know.
I feel like if it's good enough, it could have mass appeal, but because it's Illumination, it's probably not. So, unfortunately, I don't see this movie doing that well, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'll check it out. Hopefully, by the time it comes out, I might have actually played a Zelda game, or at least a bit of it, so I can like get a reference or so. But still,
thing is, another thing is like, I don't know, with Mario, it's like a Mario fan can watch that and be like, oh yeah, this is fine. They didn't like fuck anything up adaptation wise. But I don't know. I feel like with Zelda, they're gonna take more liberties with it. So actual Zelda fans will be like pissed off by that, maybe. So, I don't know. So that's another factor I was just thinking of now. It's kind of the whole thing.
There isn't. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to say about this announcement?
No, not
Not
really,
really.
honestly.
Yeah, and I guess we can move on to the movie soon. There isn't really anything else in terms of news. I guess some new movies came out. Guess we'll talk about some of them next episode. Stay tuned for that. But
New Leprechaun was announced.
Oh yeah,
Don't forget
yeah,
that.
that.
Leprechaun
We made a
haunts this
community
podcast
post.
forever.
Yeah,
I swear.
The leprechaun has cursed this podcast, and he will.
Yeah.
We will. You bet. We're gonna be there. Well, we're definitely gonna watch.
Oh no, I'll
it.
be there.
I'll be
I don't
there.
want to be
Opening
there, but I'll be
day.
back.
even though
You'll
it's
be
probably-
there in B Square.
Yeah, be there.
Yeah,
Be square
yeah,
for
both
a new
of them.
leprechaun movie. It's like the 10th one. I mean, 9th, not including
Not
Origins.
9, yeah.
Yeah,
Not 10
but,
yet.
yeah.
I didn't realize there was a whole Leprechaun franchise until you guys started doing
It goes
episodes.
deep,
I
Hal.
Yeah.
It goes deep.
yeah.
Trust me, Leprechaun derailed their podcast plans for at least like 1.5 months.
It was
I'm
very
telling you.
complex.
Leprechaun two-parter is very proud of how those turned out, but it gives me
Yeah.
trauma, kinda.
Yeah,
But,
you guys
Not
did
again.
you guys did a Leprechaun 2-parter. I did a Halloween 3-parter. So
oh, wow.
we all have our horror franchises that we
We talked about Leprechaun for like
go into
4
details.
hours.
Oh man.
It was insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. I guess we can start getting into the movies, I guess.
The
Get into
movies.
movies of today. I guess
Sure.
going in release order. How about we start off with one of the films I'll recommend today? Vertigo. So
Yeah.
let's go to that.
Yeah, sure, we can start with that.
Yeah, I'm
I
fine with
you want to start with the iconic Chicken Little, but
Yeah, I think that's good to end near the end. You know,
Alright.
let's start with some good
Yeah.
stuff. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to work your way up to the bad stuff.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how we
yeah.
should do something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think of Vertigo? I thought it was good. I liked it a lot.
that's a great movie.
Yeah,
I love it a lot.
yeah. There's a lot like I'd admit, like the film has aged really well from a technical point of view. Like it still looks
Oh, yeah,
really
no,
good
gorgeous.
today. Like
I love
one
looking
shot I
good.
really like about this movie is that one shot of the San Francisco Bridge. It looks so beautiful. Like I'm happy.
Oh, yeah,
I'm happy that's the Letterboxd banner for this movie. Works well. Looks
yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like I was surprised with how that this film was made in 1958 because sure there's some stuff that looks cheesy, but like you know of course it's gonna look a little cheesy, but like most of it looks phenomenal visually, like especially for its
Yeah,
son.
no, definitely.
It's definitely put together in a very ambitious way that I feel like a lot of modern movies take after, and I feel like a lot of movies of the time didn't, and so that's why this movie wasn't really a big hit when it first came out, and you can definitely see why.
Actually, no, I can see it doesn't have mass audience appeal now.
No,
But-
definitely
Yeah.
not.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Especially compared to like other Hitchcock stuff around this time. There's like
like Psycho,
Look at,
which
like,
was, a
Psycho
huge
or,
hit
like,
to this day.
the birds. Like those are good too. But, you know, they don't have like they're much more. I don't want to say more simple, but you know what I mean. There's like a.
I feel
much
like
more-
Yeah, I feel like Psycho is definitely a lot more iconic because it too does things differently than most movies were doing at the time. But I feel like Psycho was simple enough that people were able to get roped into it easier than they were for Vertigo. Well, it's funny. So then Vertigo was 58. 59 was North by Northwest, another Hitchcock movie, which was a lot lighter in tone and has a lot more mass appeal to it. That's another movie I really love. I would highly recommend if you guys ever check it out. And then after that was Psycho. And yeah, I definitely feel like Psycho was more of the more iconic hit because audiences were able to grasp it a lot more, but it was still able to be kind of iconic in its own way and like trying new things. I still personally like Vertigo though, because I think Vertigo like really goes all out in trying something new. And just being really admittedly really, really ruthless.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoilers, since there's like a twist near the end that like.
Yeah. Definitely. Spoilers ahead.
Yeah.
If you have never seen this movie, please, by all means, watch it. It's fantastic.
and
I went
come
into
back
this
and-
like
yeah.
mostly blind, so like
Same. I knew
uh,
very little about this movie. I just read the letter.
Mhm.
I'm glad I did. I think that makes it much better. The suicide near the middle, I did not expect at all. That kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I love the music
And then
in
the
this
thing
movie.
is, I was like
music
into
is so
the.
good.
I was into the first half. There's a lot of really good like long dialogue scenes. It just I don't know if you guys agree. In the second half, that's when it like fully clicks for me, because then I think then you get like thematically more what it's going for, and then like just all the stuff with like James Stewart's character trying to like he basically just becomes obsessive after a while over this
Mhm.
Yeah, and
this
it's done
one
it, and the
woman.
way he
you know,
becomes
and so-
obsessive is very unsettling and heartbreaking when given like
Yes.
the actual twist of the movie, which I think is like something that we could definitely talk about later on.
Yeah, so the first half is definitely it's slow, but like it's definitely you definitely see the pieces of it like kind of building up to like our usual love story. So like it's a thriller, and that's what Hitchcock is very good at, just kind of building tension. And what I like about the first half is like there's kind of this uneasy feeling because so basically the main character Jimmy Stewart is a private detective, and he's hired by an old college friend of his to investigate his wife, and
He's been acting pretty strange.
who's been acting strange. Yeah, and then you start to get the feeling that like, oh, is there like a twinge of supernatural to the story because
Yes. Is
the
she,
wife
being
thinks she's
haunted by a
possessed?
ghost?
Yeah, is she being haunted by a ghost? And you're just like, oh, this is interesting. And then Scotty, the main character, gets a little like fascinated by this person and just like is so enamored by her because she's so mysterious. She's so like just beautiful. And so like it's told in a way that's like, I don't want to say like normal for the time. Like I don't know. It's built up in a way that seems like something that like you'd be kind of used to. And then halfway through the movie, there is a suicide, it's actually it's a homicide because so it is a suicide. And then Scotty has like insane guilt because the wife ends up jumping off the tower, or so he thinks. And that's when the movie kind of switches it up. It kind of breaks apart that illusion. And I feel like that's when like the movie really shines, and it's just hateful and nihilistic perception on love. And I think that's where it kind of alienates audiences at the time, because it's just like, because then it leads to like just such a depressing ending. But I kind of like that it's so depressing. You know?
No, that works because the first half's building up this like not like you said like generic,
idea,
like typical idea, and then the second half is all about like deconstructing that kind of, because then it flips everything on its head, and then the movie's just insane from there. There's a lot.
So I was thinking while upon rewatching this, I was like thinking about it, and I was like, a lot of this reminded me. I don't know if you guys ever saw Blade Runner 2049.
Seen that.
Okay, well, not to really spoil it or anything. I mean, it's still worth watching, even if I sort of spoil it. But like that movie is about like it's kind of built up as like a typical legacy sequel, quote unquote, where like a main character thinks he's like the next generation of the Blade Runners or whatever, but then like as the movie goes on, he starts to realize he's not that special. I'll leave it at that. But like I feel like that's what this movie's kind of doing. Like Scotty is investigating this woman. He's starting to fall in love with her. He thinks she dies, and then he finds her, and he realizes like it was all a lie. Like she was never the wife of his friend. She was just some actress. So then
it was all just he was all just being manipulative.
He was being he was being manipulated by his own friend, so then his friend could kill his wife, so then he could inherit her money, and it meant nothing. It is an insanely good twist. Yeah, it's so good.
It works really well, and I think it
and
I really enjoy James Stewart.
Definitely his performance is amazing.
I think that's like the highlight for me with the character he plays.
He's really good because he's just such a neurotic guy, and it works for this kind of role. I will say, I think like originally, like Scotty was supposed to be like a lot younger, but like Hitchcock wanted to have James Stewart, but then like he realized, he's just like, yeah, maybe Jimmy was too old for this, because Jimmy Stewart was like borderline 50 when he made this, and Kim Novak is like 24 in this movie, so it's a little weird. But I mean, suffice it to say, even if he's a little older, he still gets like the mannerisms down to a kind of person that would become like super obsessive and like just super on edge all the time.
Really enough, that kind of adds to it though. Like
it does.
The real nature of it, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And I love it because you think in any other movie, like, yeah, you would feel bad for him. And in a way you do, because he was, to be fair, he was manipulated. He was totally, he was totally the victim in like something that was out of his control. But because he became so obsessed, it's that obsession that like overtakes him. And so then when he meets Madeline, or her real name, Judy, when he meets Judy again, he becomes really controlling because he was so in love that like he can't let that go. He's addicted to that love.
To, like, make this person,
go ahead,
who looks very similar to Madeline, into basically trying to morph her into that person, because like just how like obsessed he's become with this woman, and it's like generally heartbreaking and sad. And it's like, and especially the twist of how like it correlates with his character really well. And like I really like the part near the end of the movie, like the final act. Like everything leading up to it is also pretty great. Like it's all like great, like set up, great tension, and overall like just sets everything up for the ending really well. And like I just really like that.
I was a little uneasy about the whole fact of like during the third act when like he meets Judy again, and she like is trying to claim that like she fell in love with him too. And I always found that kind of weird, because I'm like, well, he's being such an asshole in this third act. Like, why are you falling for him? But I did realize this time around, she genuinely feels sorry for him, because she feels like she really manipulated him because, well, she did, because she was working for Elster, like the friend,
she basically
the college friend.
Manipulated her into thinking she died, and it was like, she was basically playing him the whole time, and then she actually fell in love with him.
Well, because like she feels sorry for him, she like feels a sort of like pity for him, because she made him like actually believe that he was falling in love with her so much that like he's too far gone, because now he's just like treating her like shit, because he's like, no, you have to be the certain way because I fell in love with this person. But even though she's like dressing back up as Madeline, like you see her, like she dyes her hair, she like puts her hair up in a certain way, she like wears certain clothes, but like he knows deep down like she's not real. Like this woman he fell in love with, this fantasy woman does not exist, because she was a figment of his imagination, because she was a pawn in a grander scheme that we'll never see the man who caused it get his comeuppance. Like that's great. Like Elster never comes back. Like he's gone. He's off to Europe. He has his millions and billions of dollars with him.
He's succeeded with his plan, and it's now all the aftermath of it.
Which is pressing as shit, but it works perfectly.
Exactly. Oh my god, it's brilliant, because like in any other movie, like like, oh, they'd bring back the villain and like he'd get his comeuppance in some way. It's like, no, he got away with it scot free. Like
I actually
that's the brilliant thing. Like at the end of this, Scotty's like way worse off. He's become overly paranoid and like overly protective because he's like been manipulated, and they kind of like that. He doesn't like he doesn't really win anything at all, which is
No.
depressing, but it works perfectly as like
the
that.
Yeah.
ending is
situation
also
that you
really
said.
depressing when like she ends up actually dying this time.
Yeah, for
Like,
real.
it's all because of him actually. So like he's probably
Yeah.
going to continue having to live with that following that tragedy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it ties back into his vertigo. So he has acrophobia, which is
which is
it's a
shown
fear of
well in
heights.
the opening.
So yeah, so apparently like a misconception that was caused by this movie is people think vertigo is the fear of heights, but vertigo is the dizziness you get from having a
Yeah,
fear
you
of
can
heights.
tell that from like the poster of the movie and like how it's like
Yes.
showing the the type of
He's-
dizziness and
He's
describing
falling
it.
and it's you got the spirals going around, which
Yeah, you
by
got
the way,
woman
the
there.
opening title sequence was designed by a man named Saul Bass. Saul Bass also designed the title sequence in Psycho.
Oh.
I prefer this title sequence because I think it's a lot more clever. Whereas I feel like Psycho is good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like this one's a lot better.
Seen Psycho. Should probably check that out.
I highly recommend it. But yeah, no, you definitely get like the mirroring of the themes and the motifs of this movie with that opening of like with all the spirals and like the close-ups of the woman, like, and then you get that beautiful dream sequence, which beautiful.
Yeah, the beautiful animation there, like
yeah, the
just
animation.
the way they show him like losing sanity.
Yeah,
damn.
It looks a little cheesy. Obviously because
especially
it's
with
what
like
they.
the head effect of like the
Yeah.
that.
But for 1958, and the fact that I think this was like one of the first times they ever did something like that in a movie, like it looks great, and it really does add to the movie, like, because it definitely shows that like the dude is like losing his mind over this obsession he has with this woman. Yeah,
he's losing his mind so much he's seeing animation.
Yeah, he's seeing the animation bits from the flower fucking from Pink Floyd's The Wall.
Yeah, I actually was gonna make that comparison. Oh my god.
Yeah, they're very similar. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, he has vertigo, or he discovers he has vertigo through that scene at the beginning where he's like chasing the criminal and he lets the cop fall, where he doesn't let him. Like he accidentally like. He can't save the cop, and like the cop falls to his death, and that's where he discovers like, oh, he has vertigo and he doesn't work well in heights.
One thing I want to say about that, I'm the only one who laughed when he fell because of like how it looked cheesy and I thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's another one of those 1950s. There's a very similar sequence in Rear Window, which came out like 4 years earlier, another Hitchcock movie where someone falls and like it looked exactly like that. It's like, oh yeah, it doesn't look good.
Because that was like one of the only things that like actively took me out of it. Like that was oh yeah, this is definitely from 1958.
Yeah,
other than that, no, it's pretty timeless.
Most of the time, it's timeless and it's mostly aged pretty well. Like if I didn't know better, I was surprised to see this film released in 1958. Like
it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, especially for its
definitely.
time, it looks amazing.
The production design is amazing. I love like the sets it has. I love the costuming. Like Kim Novak's green dress in the first scene at Ernie's when he's like first sees her, and you see like this green dress like popping out, and like this group of like people in black suits and black dresses, and like you have like the bright red of the walls of the restaurant, and it's, oh my god, it's beautiful. Like it's so breathtaking in terms of gorgeous cinematography, and like it's striking, and it's something I fell in love with immediately when I first watched this movie. I was like, my god, like I didn't know movies this old could look this good. Like it's amazing. And it really grabs you in because it's such a beautiful looking movie. But like underneath the surface, it's so ugly and hateful and just depressing.
Like how sad it gets by the end of it, and just like, the true meaning of the whole story. Like
so the whole vertigo thing. So the reason it's called Vertigo is because like it's the vertigo that makes Scotty that's the only reason why like, Scotty is a player in this whole story, because he the college friend knows he has a fear of heights. He has a vertigo. So like he knows when he chases up to get the wife, he knows Scotty's not going to make it up there because he's going to get too dizzy. And so then the wife can like fall without, there being a witness to seeing what actually happens.
Mhm.
And then you go ahead. I've been talking a bit.
At first I was like confused of why the film was called Vertigo, but then like I realized that, and then I looked through and I was like, oh wait, the entire reason the film happens is because of his acrophobia and his vertigo. So
Mhm.
I always knew it as that because like I knew it was called the Vertigo because now the main character had vertigo. That seemed like the simple reason why.
I know, but
It's like it's obviously partially that, but like plot wise, it fits really well too because that's good.
Mhm.
The whole reason the plot happens, the whole reason the big twist happens, the reason the ending happens, it all connects nicely. It's really
And I love the ending. How like he assumes he's gotten over it. He's just like, wow, I've beaten my acrophobia. I've beaten my vertigo. I'm no longer dizzy. I can make it to the top. Like everything is coming up Millhouse, and then nope, it doesn't work out because Judy ends up falling anyway.
Yeah, that's a sad ending with the nun basically just coming up the tower and then just like scaring her and she falls, and that's the end. Which is a bit
sucks,
cheesy,
then at the
but it's a
end,
nice
he's
note to end on the movie.
He's basically at the same point he started the movie as when he ended it, arguably worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Like
after he's like been consumed by obsession, trying his best to like fill the empty hole by like trying to, and he wants to finally fill it by like trying to conquer his fear of heights, which was the one thing that he thought came in the way of saving the woman he loved, which is like that's sad.
Exactly. Like he was focusing on the wrong thing, which he got over his vertigo, but now he has to deal with his guilt, which is going to be even worse for his mental state, honestly.
Yeah, it's a good ending for this movie, especially
God.
thematically.
Yeah. I mean, see, here's the thing. Like, I don't usually go for horribly depressing movies as like my favorites, but like this one definitely takes the cake. Like, this is definitely one that's up there when it comes to like, it's super depressing, but it has a point to its depressing nature. And
it has like, it's depressing, but I find it really thought provoking, which is
thought provoking. Yes,
it just leaves like a lot. Back to the music. I brought this up briefly earlier, but I think like the way it builds tension, specifically in the scenes where Robbie is like following the woman, and like the way it builds tension and mystery with like like it's like teasing you with the idea that she might be haunted by a ghost or whatever, and then it's like this like supernatural thing, but then it's like revealed that the real thing that that is taking people over in this movie is obsession rather than ghosts. So
exactly,
thing.
You're right though.
They like hook you with that supernatural element at the beginning, but in reality, it's not even like the big hook of the movie by the end after you figure everything out.
I wish more movies had twists like that, where like, because like in movies, especially in movies where like it's always revealed that there is a supernatural element to it. It's like, oh, there was, we didn't believe you, but now it turns out you were right. There was a supernatural element to it. Like, I wish a lot more movies like actually like, actually bit the bullet and were just like, no, you're just insane. There is no ghost. There is no supernatural element to this story. Like, I don't know. I feel like movies just don't do that anymore. They're not willing. They're like, it either has to be upfront with it not being a supernatural horror, or they have to be upfront with it actually being a supernatural horror. But like the whole time they have to be dicking around with other characters not believing the main character. Like
and if they like try to make it a twist, they either make it too obvious or too sudden. Like, see, with this, the twist is like kind of sudden, but then when you think about it more, it all like comes together.
It makes sense. Yeah, no, it definitely, like, this movie does so, like, it doesn't just like slap you in the face and be like, no, you're an idiot for ever believing it. Like, no, like that's the point. Like, you were supposed to be falling for it because the main character was falling for it.
Yeah. Another thing I like is how the idea at first you're like wondering, like, since I didn't know about the twist, I think that Maddie's basically cheating on her husband, but then it's revealed that it wasn't that, and it was all different. And I think that makes me look back at like certain parts of it and like feel the romance between them much better. And I think it just makes the whole experience just like
it recontextualizes everything.
Yeah.
And like
it makes it more depressing. it makes it more depressing because you realize it's just like here's the interesting thing, because it's like, okay, she's putting on a character for him, but then she also does have feelings for him. So it's like, but like,
it's complicated.
But does she?
Black and white.
But here's the thing: is like, does she actually have feelings for him, or is it purely just out of pity? Like, does she only feel bad for him because she knows she put him through this? And so she's just horribly guilt tripped into being this perfect woman for him, and then he's too obsessed to realize that she's not a real person. So like,
that might be why she's trying to like make it up to him with like trying to, like when she's revealed to be Judy, she tries to be like that, like Maddie again, just to make him happy, just so she could have like this happy ending and isn't just scarred by guilt.
Yeah, but he knows it's all fake because he sees the necklace and he's reminded. He's just like, oh, that's right. Like you were lying to me the whole time.
That was a nice detail, especially.
Yeah, like the necklace came back and he's just like, oh, it was all fake. And that's when he figures it all out. And he's like, you were never real to me. And she's like, no, I fell in love with you, but it's too late.
Eventually, just ends up overcompensating for it. That's great too.
I love the line at the end when he's like figuring it all out at the clock tower, and he says to her like, you shouldn't have been so sentimental, when he says that about her keeping the necklace. And it's just like, oh, but you were sentimental. It's brilliant. It's so good. It's so good. I love this movie so much.
Yeah, it's great. Technically it's great, and I feel like it just has a very engaging and enjoyable story to see unravel in a very compelling and depressing way that leads to the ending with a lot to like re-contextualize and whatnot.
I was definitely thinking about this movie a lot after it finished, and I mean, this was like my third time seeing it. I think maybe fourth. There's been a couple of times I've seen it, I feel like, and I definitely need to watch it a lot more because it's easily one of my favorite Hitchcock movies. Was this your guys' first time watching it? I'm assuming it was.
I'm happy you recommended this, since I think this is like it was on my watch list beforehand on Letterboxd, so I guess there was definitely an urge for me to wanting to watch it at some point.
I'd love to rewatch it now, knowing like the full context of what happened. It was like we were talking about. That adds like an extra layer to it, like we were just talking about.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I highly recommend rewatching it again. I recommend a bunch of Hitchcock films. I mean, maybe not movies from like the 20s or 30s of his. Some movies from the 30s of his are pretty good, but like, and the only reason I know this is because I've seen a bunch of those early Hitchcock movies, and some of them are just. This is
my first Hitchcock movie. I wanted to see Psycho and Rear Window at some point. But
So the stuff he made in like the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, like that's definitely Hitchcock in his peak, like his heyday. Like the 20s and 30s, when he was like making silent films, are pretty bad. And I mean, that's a whole other discussion for another time.
The one Hitchcock thing I saw was this one short film he made called Lamb to the Slaughter, and then like,
that's funny. I think someone was just telling me about that. Is that the one where like the woman like has the lamb, the piece of lamb, and she like murders her husband with it? So that's an episode. So that's an episode of his show from the 50s called Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Fun fact: there's an episode of that features the dad from A Christmas Story, Darren McGavin. Yeah, but he's like super young. He's not the old man in that one.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've been meaning to watch a lot more of that show. I've only ever seen
a lot of things about it, but I've never actually checked it out. It's not like top priority.
I'll check more of his filmography out in the future.
Totally.
I think
how much I loved this movie.
Before this, I've seen Psycho, Rear Window, and Rope. Those three, I think I still have to rewatch it at some point. Yeah.
Rope I remember being really good. That's one I've only seen once and I need to see again because I love the aesthetic of that. I mean, I think Vertigo is like my favorite aesthetic in a Hitchcock film, but I think Rope is like definitely up there. I love
it's so fast because like one shot the entire time with the
and I love like the skyline, like the matte painting skyline. It's I have a soft spot for city skylines. I think they're beautiful in movies and just in general.
This movie, just like the San Francisco setting, also works really well.
It really makes San Francisco look beautiful. Which I've been to San Francisco once, and it was nice. The Golden Gate Bridge was nice.
Really well made movie, especially for its time, like I've stated. But it's really good. Well, I love this movie. One of the definitely different from the usual film we might talk about on this podcast, but I still think it's a good movie nonetheless that I would recommend.
I'm very glad you made us both check this one out.
Yeah, totally. I love recommending people movies that I've discovered. Like, I remember first discovering this movie back in college. I watched it on my own. I just heard about it in a college class of mine, but like then now that I'm like spreading the word about it, like that's all I could ever ask for, like, because it's really good.
That was I don't know if I have much to say about this movie. I basically agree with most of what you said, Hal.
Yeah, Hal, you covered this very well.
You went in depth on a lot of like good stuff in the best way, because I would have.
And there's so much more.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I want to watch this movie more to fully impact certain parts of it and see if like I'll probably like this even more on rewatch. And I already love this movie a whole lot, so
as someone who's seen it multiple times, it gets better on rewatch.
Nice. Cool. I definitely plan on checking this film out again at some point, and I overall highly recommend it. I don't know if I have anything else to say. It's technically great. Everything you said about the story and like how well in depth the idea of obsession taking you over, grief and guilt, that I agree with that. I think you summarized that really well. And
thank you.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Yeah. Anything else anyone else has to say?
We got any more quick notes, Hal? If you got anything?
No, I really like the scene where like they're at the redwood forest and like, she's pointing at the thing.
Yeah,
and she's
I feel like that's where they start like forming their relationship more.
Here's where I was born. Here's where I died. It was a moment for you. Cause like it's a giant tree. It's a great scene. It's actually the scene, fun fact, that's in 12 Monkeys. There's a scene in 12 Monkeys where Bruce Willis is in a movie theater and they're watching Vertigo, and it's that scene in Vertigo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Another movie.
That's another movie.
This discussion has convinced me to watch a lot of different movies from this type of era, so that's something I got out of this.
Watch 12 Monkeys and listen to my episode on it.
I've been meaning to check that one out. I love time travel movies a lot of the time, so I guess we could get on to our ratings. Originally gave this an 8, but I think after thinking over it for a couple hours, I think I'm giving it a solid 9 out of 10.
I would agree on that. I think I honestly could go higher if I watched it again. I like to not give things like 5 stars immediately on my first viewings of them because I don't want to seem like I'm jumping the gun on stuff.
I sometimes don't. I do that sometimes, but a lot of the time, I with films like this, I feel like
it definitely depends. Like I've tried my best at trying to hold myself back, and then like if I feel like it raising my score, obviously sometimes I do jump the gun. Like The Thing, I originally gave like the full 5 stars, and what was it? Little Italy, I gave the full 5 stars. But yeah, no. So it depends on the movie. Like so, Vertigo for me, the full 10, baby, like 10 out of 10. I love this movie lots. Yeah,
fair enough.
Very good.
A lot with its story, and characters, but Yeah,
Yes.
good acting a lot.
Yes.
Including James Stewart specifically was also great.
Mhm.
He's a great actor. I mean,
He is
everyone's
a great
seen him
actor.
in this and It's a Wonderful Life, but he does good in both of the movies I've seen.
I highly recommend him in Rear Window, but yes, I would say
I haven't
this
seen- that's
and
another one I
it's
didn't
one.
see.
I think
He
this
has
and It's
not
a Wonderful Life are.
under-delivered in anything I've seen him in.
Yeah, I think this and It's a Wonderful Life are definitely his best for sure.
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we got our
Anyway,
ratings. Now
speaking
let's
of,
move on to the
Speaking of
offense.
not under-delivering, we're talking about Chicken Little.
Oh,
Chicken
God.
Little.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Oh, honestly, when I heard that you recommended this movie, I was like, oh, God. This is my third time watching this movie. I've seen it 3 times.
Wow.
My second, I think. I definitely got a different experience this time because the first time I watched it is with a bunch of friends on Discord like 2 years ago. Anthony, you were there for that.
I was there for
right?
that watch
Yeah,
party.
okay, yeah. With a bunch of that.
That was my second. That was my second watch of that movie. I saw it first beforehand, and then I rewatched it a couple days ago.
Then the second time I watched it with like a half headache, half sick in preparation for this. I don't know if that made it better or
made
worse.
you sick?
No, it was definitely beforehand. Not related.
But it definitely didn't help.
Yeah, definitely.
Who knows? Maybe it made you feel better. Maybe it made you worse.
Buck clock cured my headache.
Yeah. Anyways, Chicken Little is a very fascinating movie to me because, like, it's one of the most hated Disney movies. People hate this movie.
They do.
I can't blame them. This movie sucks.
It's not very good. It's not very good.
It's fascinating though. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it, the movie's fascinating, but I think it's like place in Disney history is also extremely fascinating.
It was the first fully 3D movie they made. Like, this was around the time where Pixar was hitting hits after hits. And then this film came along. Artists had to learn 3D. I think halfway through the production, they brought on Mark Dindal, the director of The Emperor's New Groove, which is an actual good Disney movie.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah, very good movie.
He's also directing that new Chris Pratt Garfield movie, so can't wait for that.
You just keep hitting the home runs, Mark Dindal.
Hitting those home runs. Yeah, so I think Chicken Little was also supposed to be a girl or something, and then there was even this fully animated like opening, but then Shrek happened, and they realized, oh, we have to parody our own artwork, even though it's like Shrek was a parody of Disney, and that was like the whole point. But like, this is a Disney movie.
This was like the mid 2000s. This was 2005. This is like right after the Shrek Renaissance, you could say. But like Shrek and Shrek 2 were the biggest fucking things in the world. So every animated movie wanted to be Shrek. So then Disney over here was like, all right, we can be Shrek, even though Shrek's directly making fun of us. Well, we'll make fun of ourselves, sure. Yeah, so then you get Chicken Little, which has fucking pop culture references.
The pop songs in this movie are so annoying to me. Like there's only one I like. It was the song "One Little Slip." I like that usage. That's like one of the only positives.
That's a good song. Yeah,
and I think it's used well.
Tablespoon of one big mess.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good song. I like it. Yeah, that's like the best usage of but most of the time it's just annoying. Like you gotta love the part where the pig just randomly starts singing "I Will Survive" during the climax.
Yeah. I just noticed this like upon this rewatch. I'm like, halfway through the movie, Runt just starts quoting like 70s music, and it's like
Darth Vader is Luke's father.
Well, yeah. So like 70s pop culture, but it's just and then like his mother comes in, and it's just like, don't make me take away your Streisand collection. It's like, leave Barbara out of this, Mom. It's like, I guess this is funny, but why are we doing this halfway through the movie? Like, why is he all of a sudden into like 70s hits? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, see, because they gotta make room for all of his iconic fat jokes before that.
Yes.
That's true. Yeah, so it starts off with the fat jokes, and then it turns into him singing "Staying Alive" by the Bee Gees. Good job. Yeah, good job, Chicken Little.
The alien ship, and then he just starts singing "Staying Alive." Also, like, there's a whole lot. Yeah, Also, the movie is known for being like a lot of people, I think myself included, think this movie is really mean-spirited towards the main character, Chicken Little.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
here's what
That's
that's the
happens.
main
definitely
criticism everyone says.
It's
And
like the main criticism, like especially compared to other Disney movies. So like Chicken Little says the sky's falling, and then and then it turns out like the twist was like that they just think that an acorn landed on his head instead, and then Buck Cluck, who is his very very great responsible father, decides to say, oh, he just got hit in the head with an acorn, and then he just like immediately throws the backlash on him, and then everyone gets pissed at him, and then 1 year later they make a fucking movie about this event. It's like,
Which is
it's
really
like, what?
weird.
timeline of events is so weird on that. They say, "Oh no,
They
they
made
had
a
like a
whole
book
movie about
with
this
a bunch of
one
stuff
thing.
in like
It is
a year."
so stupid. It's like
So comical. Like, I think it's trying to be
Yeah.
funny, but even still, like the whole
It's
town.
it's
loves
trying
on
to
this one
be
thing
yeah,
that happened.
it's trying to be kind of cynical, but like in a funny way that like I don't know The Simpsons would be, but like The Simpsons was clever in its cynical nature. Because like I was while rewatching this, I realized that's Harry Shearer as the dog announcer when they're
Oh, he is
at the
I didn't
baseball.
picture
Yeah, he's
that.
like announcing, and he's just like, "Oh, we're gonna, gloat about it. We're gonna be the winners this time. We're gonna gloat." And
everyone in
like
this
stick it in
movie
there.
is just an asshole.
Yeah, like and as he was saying that line, I'm like, I can imagine him saying something like that as like a Simpson, as like Kent Brockman on like The Simpsons, but
Yeah.
because he's not saying it on The Simpsons, and he's being written by Disney writers who are like so saturated and like have to appeal to like the Disney brand, the cynicalness feels like fake, like it feels like it's written by someone who doesn't understand why when something is cynically funny. Like it feels like it's being held back, or it's written by somebody who doesn't understand how bullying works, because like people are ruthless to Chicken Little for really no reason.
He's like he's just a kid, and then for some reason people are just so unnecessarily furious of the fact that
I feel like they want to have
was
their
falling.
cake and eat it too, because they go really over the top with it,
It's
but then they
just
want
sad.
you
It's
to treat
not
that as
fun.
like
Am I
a
supposed to
serious
laugh at this
conflict.
little chicken?
Chicken Little's
being
gonna
tortured?
redeem himself.
Yeah,
but
literally
then it
the
doesn't,
plot
doesn't
of this
amount to
movie
anything.
opening is the fact that his father, Buck Cluck, who is a huge asshole, to the point when I find it funny of how terrible of a father he is. Like, everyone literally clowns on this guy, and it's like, it's deserved, because like the first act of the movie, the entire point of it is just that Chicken Little wants to redeem himself in his father's eyes because his father is always embarrassed by him. And then near the end, when they try to redeem him, he says, I didn't know that I was neglecting you. I didn't know. I'm sorry that I had to make it feel like that my love was something you had to earn. And it's like,
they try to make it.
Why?
No,
how do you not notice
they
this?
show that so poorly. Like they try to have that scene where you're like, oh, you're supposed to feel bad for him now.
Yeah,
all the excuses are
It's
just bullshit, so it doesn't work at all.
Well, here's my thing on Buck Cluck, because this is also part of the reason why I wanted to rewatch Chicken Little, because I have noticed that like the internet has kind of like a hate boner for Buck Cluck, and I don't entirely understand it. Now, let me just say, I 110% agree with the idea that Buck Cluck is a terrible father. Like, there is no doubt about that. He's not very good. I just don't hate him as much as other people do, and I think it's because I understand that yes, he's supposed to be the terrible father who doesn't understand.
Well, the movie acknowledges that multiple times.
The movie acknowledges that, yes.
In my 2022 video, but I don't even think honestly, I know everyone has probably forgotten about this movie, and I mostly have as well, but the new Disney movie Strange World had a father character who is also a huge asshole, but at least in Chicken Little they make like Buck Cluck like they know that he's in the wrong, but in Strange World the grandfather and his son, which I absolutely refuse to learn their names because the movie is so forgettable and boring.
Yeah, I don't remember them either.
Yeah, who does?
I don't even remember most of what happened.
The grandfather guy just abandoned his family for his own ego. Like, sure, Buck Cluck puts his own ego over his kid, but he doesn't like abandon his family, and the movie doesn't like make him in like the movie at least makes Buck Cluck in the wrong in there. But like in this in that movie, they try to make the grandfather and the dad like in the right, like they're both equal, but like no.
Try to make it like not a black and white scenario, but in that case it definitely is.
Yeah. And whereas I feel like Buck Cluck, like again, yes, he is a terrible father, and but I do feel like by the end he understands that, and I feel like. But here's the thing: I don't think the movie does a very good job at explaining why he's a terrible father, because it's like no, not at all. They say the wife dying. He's like, oh, your mother was always so much better at this. It's like, well, what the fuck does that mean?
Also, Chicken Little's mother has like a fucking awful character design.
Yeah,
so that's a weird thing to point out, but like the frame just looks.
Yeah, you only see her in like the
would
photo.
Have more like impact if we didn't see Chicken Little's mom for like a 10-second scene of Buck Cluck looking at a framed picture and then like a line.
Yeah,
the third.
You know what to do.
And Chicken, honestly, some stuff I find to Buck Cluck that this is funny is that like the scene where like Chicken Little asks, "What if I joined the baseball team, Dad?" And then he just like he almost crashes his car because like the baseball team. What the hell? Like he discourages his son's dream. He tells him to lay low, just don't interact, don't draw attention to yourself, just don't pretend you don't exist.
I just find it funny how like blatantly terrible it is. They don't hide it at all.
It's the funniest thing about this movie, just how unnecessarily awful of a father he is.
I see what they're going for, because he is like, because like he definitely does feel embarrassment, but I think he also does feel stress as being a single parent. Again, it's not explored very well, like at all. So like, I don't think the movie should have points for that, because it doesn't do a very good job at that. I'm just saying, I don't necessarily hate him as much as other people do. I feel like there are worse father characters, like we were just saying. Strange World, I think is way worse. And again, I do feel like he does like understand by the end, like he understands he was kind of a shitty father, and he does actively do everything he can to make up for it. And I love you were saying that one thing is like really funny how he like almost drives off. I love that one part where like Chicken Little's like, all right, plan B, we're gonna run across, and he's like explaining this whole plan, but you see him off screen. You don't see, he's like off screen, and like you just see his father like getting like reacting to everything he's saying, and then like something explodes in the background, and you hear like this stock scream, and he goes, yeah,
he's like pretending to be this father. He's trying to make us feel bad for him, like this iconic line, that's bad parenting and I should know.
Yeah, that line.
It's almost like they become overly self-aware about it.
Yeah, that line would pile that in. That line would be a lot better in a much better script. Like again, I'm not going to defend Buck Cluck as like a good father, because I think the point of him is that he's supposed to be a bad father, but the movie doesn't do a very good job at writing him as a bad father.
Exactly, like, and like a way that doesn't make sense, and just like in the way they redeem him is like fine.
I think you could have him as an awful parent. They don't communicate that well either.
I think they could do a better job at communicating it if they weren't going for like the stereotypical bad father tropes. Like, I don't know if you guys remember in Incredibles 2 when like Bob was like being like this quote unquote bad father, where he's like, I don't know how to be a dad to my children. It's like, well,
I remember that.
Like, remember, and then it's like, well, in the first movie you were doing just fine. Like, where did this all come from? Like, it's just it's trying to be like Mr. Mom, that Michael Keaton movie from the 80s, where it's like, oh, how do I be a parent to my children? It's like, how did you have children if you don't know what to do? Like, it's a trope. It's a trope in movies and shows I don't like seeing, but
I've just always found that annoying. It's like
yeah. Anyways, I think let's go on.
No, I was just gonna. You're right. We probably should move on from Buck Cluck. I think we've all made our peace.
Break down the terribleness of Buck Cluck's character.
We can make a Buck Cluck character analysis.
We could probably,
you could. I'm sure they exist. I'm sure they exist.
I've seen some. Yeah, classic Buck Cluck. You know, he's a bad father to the point when it's funny of how bad he is.
Exactly.
I find it funny though that's like the one thing some people talk about with Chicken Little, that there's so many problems that everyone's like, nah, but Buck Cluck though.
Yeah.
Buck Cluck. It's always about him.
Yeah.
And to be fair, he is a big part of it.
He is a big part of it, yeah. Because he's a big guy. For you.
Yeah, let me just look at those shorts. Yeah. Anyways, I have
you
some
know, it's
other-
really. I was just gonna say, like, it's really funny because, like, I remember, I think I have vague memories of first watching this and just being like taken aback, like, because like the beginning of the movie is like this. It's like it's weird, but it's mean spirited for sure. But then it starts to kind of like get better. Like once he actually gets the home run and wins the hearts of the town,
and then it becomes an alien movie.
And then it
because
becomes an alien
aliens come
movie.
to Earth.
Yeah, it's
By the
just
way,
like
they don't mention baseball at all after that point.
yeah,
Who
it's
cares
just like
about baseball? And now it's all about them stopping this alien invasion, and it's just
yeah,
like,
so that's why it came out of left field. Like even as a kid, I was just like, "What the hell
is
is
this an
this?"
alien movie now?
Yeah, where
Okay.
did these aliens come from? Like this was never established.
And the
Like I thought this was a
Well,
baseball
I guess
movie.
the idea is, the sky falling thing is the establishment. But the thing is, you could just watch that scene at the beginning and like it could be anything. It doesn't. You don't. Your mind doesn't immediately go, "Oh no, that's definitely alien."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. You know what? Yeah, thinking about it, the baseball subplot goes literally nowhere. Like there was literally no point. Like I guess to spread it out so then it could actually be feature length, but that's not good screenwriting.
yeah, I guess so. So like, oh wait, we still have to have a movie to fill, so they just filled with a bunch of alien nonsense. And there's also other stuff. Like, I guess we could talk about the humor. It ain't good. I mean,
Some
like,
of it made me laugh, but like a lot of it just made me laugh because I was laughing at the movie, not
Hey,
really
Yeah,
with
most
it.
of it was ironic when I chuckled. I chuckled
Yeah.
a couple times, but that's because it was funny bad. Like I said, mainly because of how bad of a father Buck Cluck was. I found that
Yeah.
funny. I found that funny of how unnecessarily cruel he makes himself out to be by the end of the movie.
'Twas beauty that killed the beast.
Yeah. I also like there's also these like annoying pop culture references, like I gotta love the part where just randomly one of the stuff opens in a theater of a bunch of people of animals watching Raiders of the Lost Ark.
yeah.
And I was all like, okay, I want to talk about that game because like, okay, this is probably a weird thing to complain about in a movie like this, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway because I think it's kind
Please
of funny.
do.
So
Yeah.
like, okay, so if we pick out the full context of this clip, so okay, so how does that movie exist in universe if we're in a world of animals? Are there humans in this world?
Is it
Just
animated? Even though it's even so, if this world is animated and that's live action, is live action then
Over-animated?
animation?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because there's a
it's over animated.
It's over animated.
You know, the funny thing about that to me, this is before Disney bought Lucasfilm, so I had to specifically get the rights to use that one stupid joke.
And you know what's really funny is that apparently Harrison Ford is listed in the Chicken Little cast list, and you go to his
What?
Letterboxd page,
Yeah, he is.
and
He is.
he's credited for being in the Chicken Little. It's
Yeah.
right between the conversation and
imagine that
Indiana
some
Jones
kid-
and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I just imagine that some kid who watched this movie knows this Indiana Jones because of Chicken Little.
Yeah,
I bet you this is some kid's introduction to Indiana Jones, and I kind of hate that.
This was my introduction to "Wannabe" by Spice Girls. I didn't know what that song was until this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yo,
Oh, me
tell you what
too,
I
I
want, what I
think.
really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really,
I
really
hated
want.
that.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
also one thing I want to. So this movie tries to like I guess mock Disney tropes. Two examples I'd say was like the opening book thing and says, and then Buck Cluck's all like, "Hey, that's cliche. This is too cliche. Hey, we gotta open differently." It's like
How many times you heard that one before? Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
and
just
then-
like
And then they do this weird thing. I think it's supposed to be a parody of something where I don't know. This has just always put me off to me. But like the fact that the Ugly Duckling and Chicken Little just get into some weird ass romance, and then it's like I think they're trying to make up some stupid like they're trying to like mock some stupid Disney trope of characters just randomly falling in love, but like. They're doing the
where's
trope
the
anywhere.
joke? Yeah,
I don't know, it
where's
feels
the
like they were
joke?
mocking that because like there's just this random point near the climax where like Chicken Little's all like, "I just found you attractive, by the way," and then they just kiss, and then it's like, what? That's supposed to
Yeah,
be making fun of something.
because like it really, yeah, like I didn't even pick it up as a parody or a joke. Like I was taking it seriously because it's a Disney movie. Like
Yeah, but it feels like based off of like what this movie was trying to do, like Shrek.
Yeah.
It feels like I felt like they were trying to do that because of like how
See, like,
out of nowhere and unsubtle and weird it felt.
You see, like with something like Shrek, they're very, very blatant what it is.
They
Like you
mock the
watch
trope,
that, you
but they
get
don't
like
really
one scene
dig
in,
them
and you're like, yeah,
differently.
this is a Disney parody through and through. This you don't really even like get that entirely, and the stuff it just tries to parody is like minimal, and then they just have to do Disney tropes anyway. It's like they didn't even commit to it.
Yeah, they
Doesn't
just decide to mock
really
them
work.
randomly, and it's done like in a more dumb and less subtle way than it is in Shrek, when it's done like in a much better way that tells a really good story.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
It's typical Disney, like thinking they're like two
Murphy
steps
is
ahead of
so
us,
edgy.
but they're like 7 steps behind. Because like they think they're parodying themselves, but they're not, because they have no sense of humor and they don't really want to make fun of themselves. Like, that's why and to a lesser extent, like I think even other modern studios are making fun of Disney in the exact same ways. Like, there was that this is just a minor thing, but there's that trailer for Nimona where like they have like that Disney princess looking character who gets like burst into flames, and then like in that Ruby Gillman trailer they have like the main villain look like Ariel from Little Mermaid. It's just like, you're parodying the exact same things that we've been parodying Disney for years now. Like,
I feel like because this is the Chicken Little was 2005, yet Disney still does that shit constantly.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Frozen movies, you feel like they're doing the exact same things, where they're just like, oh God,
I hated it. It's so
it's like, dude, like we get it. Like we've seen these things parodied. Like start parodying things that you're like more modern things. Like
at this point, the parody is the norm, and that's what pisses me off.
Exactly,
like what Shrek did, because it's kind of
You see, every Shrek parody doesn't get why Shrek works at all, and that's the annoying thing.
I think we kind of briefly touched about some impact on like spoof and parody movies when we talked about Airplane and how like it led to shit like Disaster Movie.
Yeah, the kind of shit that just wants to make a reference to something without really thinking about why the references were made in other movies.
Jokes and just
you're not telling jokes, you're making references, which I mean I've fallen victim to that. Like I'll just randomly like just say random references and that's my humor, but like, I'm not gonna pass that off as like a $1 million movie.
I'm just dumb shit you say to your friends. You're not gonna pass that off as like peak comedy.
Yeah. I know, like I'm either quoting Simpsons episodes or Nostalgia Critic skits, like, but that that's just what I do.
Yeah. I guess back to Chicken Little and what stuff about that. Another thing I want to like, there's just like back to the film's like overall like mean spirited vibe to it. Just like the fact that how like how mean like the adults are to this little kid is just like makes the film weirdly uncomfortable. Like there's
even as a kid when I watched this, and I'm very nostalgic for this movie because I did grow up watching it. But like even as a kid, I remember watching it and being like, these people are assholes to this kid.
It's kind of like those SpongeBob episodes where they endlessly torture Squidward without
Squidward torture porn. You know what? I even noticed that as a kid. We're like, you really feel like
I felt so bad for Squidward in some
you feel bad for these characters, and it's just like, dude, like, why are you so mean spirited? Like, this isn't funny. This is like,
I'd argue
sad.
Fun. Yeah, this is sad.
SpongeBob, obviously, in the worst episodes, it's for no reason. But no, at least sometimes it's funny when it's Squidward, because they do like, there's a point to it. They'll show him being an asshole,
like
and then they'll spend the rest of
if he did something that
it's like a catalyst.
Yeah,
Chicken Little just makes one kind of mistake, and then everyone hates him.
Yeah, and then like even then they're just like super like, and like and then like even when it's not at Chicken Little's expense, there's that scene during gym class, and where the coach is just like, all right, we're going to be playing dodgeball, popular kids versus unpopular kids.
I was just about to bring that up, actually.
Yeah, it's just like, was that a joke? Like, where's the funny
it's supposed
in
to
that?
laugh at that. Haha, they make a list of popular and unpopular kids. That's so
again,
that's so
that
clever.
Is something that would be really funny in a Simpsons episode. But again, if it was written by the Simpsons writers, again, this was written by Disney writers who don't understand why that would be funny.
Well, Simpsons writers are Disney writers now, don't forget.
Well, yeah, that's true. All hail the mouse.
Yeah, something tells me that I know that Disney bought The Simpsons, and they say it so much now.
Yeah,
That's how I know.
that's
You
how I
can watch
know.
Chicken Little and Homer's Enemy both on Disney Plus.
Got to do that
That's
double
true.
screening.
I did watch the Springfield Files after watching Chicken Little, which I did
Right.
because that's a Simpsons episode where Homer thinks he sees something regarding aliens and tells the whole town, and nobody believes him. But that's actually funny because it's played for jokes, and the jokes are funny. They even cross it over with X-Files, so they have like Mulder and Scully come in for like a couple of scenes. Leonard Nimoy's there, like. It's really funny. Whereas like here, it's being written by people who don't understand what they're writing. So it's just awkward and really, mean-spirited is a good way of describing this movie. Cause it's like, it's really, really uncomfortable at times. You're just like,
Makes it hard to watch at times.
Yeah, this isn't funny.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't funny. None of it's funny.
It's
like,
somewhat entertaining with how bonkers and off the walls.
Yeah.
It's somewhat, but it's not like something like I ironically enjoy it that much.
I was thinking about it while watching it. I was like comparing it to like Shark Tale, for example. Like that's a movie from around the same time that is also mean-spirited, also makes like a billion pop culture references, is also super cringy and ugly. Just looks ugly in its animation. But I kind of love Shark Tale because of how terrible it is. Like, I could watch Shark Tale a million times and still find it hilarious and
I feel like Shark Tale is more blatantly awful than this.
Yeah. Shark Tale is just so bad and so just awful in everything it attempts. Whereas I feel like Chicken Little, I don't know, just like... I can almost see it working. Like I could not see Shark Tale working at all, like in any capacity. When I feel like it as a failure is a lot more entertaining to watch. Whereas like Chicken Little, I feel like it's still being held back. And so
so you were making those comparisons right with like Simpsons writing and stuff, and even like ignoring that, there's like potential here. Kind of, I think it was just kind of made like from the wrong people.
It was so the wrong people, wrong time. Like I think you guys said, like Mark Dindal had to come in halfway through to direct the movie.
I think I did some research, and then like I saw something like that, and that's like how. It's not his fault at all. Why this?
No, of course not.
Was such a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, the tablespoon of one big mess. Like I think
that song perfectly describes this movie. Now that I think about it.
I think maybe Mark Dindal is the reason I can kind of see the good aspects to it because the dude is super talented. Like he made Emperor's New Groove,
which
banger.
Is probably one of the easily the funniest Disney movie.
Oh my god, it's so funny. I watched it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that'd be a great episode. Yeah, we should do that an episode.
Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. You guys should also talk about Kronk's New Groove.
Oh yeah, we gotta talk about that. I would love to talk about both of those movies at some point.
Yeah, oh my god, Emperor's New Groove, so good. So I think Mark Dindal maybe is the reason why like some of it works, and so then it's not quite the level of failure that Shark Tale is. But I kind of wish it was the level of Shark Tale. Now, here's the thing. I think we can all agree it's not very good.
It's awful. I just straight up hate this movie.
Yeah, I think I can still hang on to it a little bit because of that nostalgia I have for it. Because there are some things that I remember that are like edged into my brain because I remember watching it as a kid. But in terms of other movies that I grew up and I have nostalgia for, I could see myself returning to those a lot more often than Chicken Little.
I can't see myself revisiting it after this.
I've seen this movie way too many times.
Just that initial watching experience, I had a really good first time around. But then again, that was just only because I was watching with like a bunch of friends. That's probably
I feel like there are other movies to watch with friends more often. Like I would sooner watch something like Sea Ape or Shark Tale or
definitely
any of like the Aladdin
sequels. Ironically enjoyable stuff with friends, that's like a never-ending rabbit hole. Chicken Little's not going to be at the top of that.
Chicken Little's definitely not there. I'd love to watch this with people, but like not as often.
No, definitely not.
And again, I do have nostalgia for it, so I don't entirely think it's worthless. but I also would never say it's anything great. It is definitely not an example of a good Disney movie from the early 2000s. Like, that would be Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis, Treasure Planet.
Yeah.
And even in the later 2000s, like Meet the Robinsons is a lot better. Princess and the Frog is a lot better.
Some
Bolt is
Disney has.
fine. I need to rewatch Bolt because I do remember liking it, but also
remember that movie's like fine.
I remember being absurdly mediocre.
So I don't know.
Yeah, Meet the Robinsons though, really good.
That movie slaps.
I need to watch it again because it's really good from what I remember. But Chicken Little is definitely one.
It's one of the worst Disney movies. Honestly, it's probably. I haven't seen shit like Dinosaur yet. But I think I'm comfortable in saying, as of now, this is my least favorite Disney movie I've seen. Like, not using the shit like like all the other stuff, like the direct-to-DVD sequels, the live-action remakes, not including all that shit, because there's some stuff like that that's so much worse.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there are, like, other Disney movies that
I'm talking about
annoy
the
me more
Disney
than this, because, like, with Chicken Little.
I
it's
remember
kind of always famously known as, that's the worst one. That's the one everyone, like,
the bottom of the
everyone
barrel.
kind of hates. It's hard to get annoyed
which one,
by that. But
Brian? Which one, Brian?
I was saying, I was just saying that, like, in terms of, like, in comparison to other stuff, Chicken Little is, like, the one that everyone just famously hates on in terms of stuff. So it doesn't annoy me actively as much. Like, honestly, something like Pocahontas or even like or like
I haven't seen that. Those are also one of some of the worst Disney movies, even though I haven't even seen Pocahontas yet. So
I remember seeing a tweet recently that was just like, "Oh, what would you rather watch, Chicken Little or Pocahontas?" And after watching Chicken Little this time around, it's like, oh, Chicken Little, hands down, like. Pocahontas
it's a fascinating movie, even if it's like
Pocahontas is just boring. Like it's so boring.
Sure. I haven't even seen it yet, but it sounds awful.
And you guys
want to watch it.
Yeah, no, it's not even worth. I mean, I guess it's worth watching at least once. But
I mean, I guess if you want to go for completion, then you might as well.
Yeah. Well, like you were saying, Anthony, Dinosaur. I think Dinosaur is way worse than Chicken Little. Because Chicken Little, I can get some entertainment value out of. Dinosaur, I cannot. Like,
but Dinosaur doesn't even sound or like look like a Disney movie at all.
No, it's not. Yeah, no. I mean, again, as I've said this before, I love shitting on Dinosaur purely because I know it pisses off a lot of Schaefer-less viewers because it's really funny. But no, like
remember
I do.
When it's like every Disney movie ranked video came out, there were people who were apparently pissed off at the dinosaur take.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you guys about the video somebody posted to the subreddit? This was like years ago. Somebody posted a video to the subreddit with like saying like it was a video made by this guy where he took clips from James like shitting on Dinosaur, and every time he made a point that the guy didn't agree with, he played a scene from Jurassic Park where like a dinosaur would attack a person, to insinuate that. Because he does to insinuate that he doesn't agree with James. Unfortunately, the video does not exist. I was not able to archive it. I thought it was the funniest video ever, and I'm so glad somebody posted that to the subreddit. I showed it to James, and James commented on it, being like, "Oh, well, thank you for airing your criticisms of my video." And I think because James commented on it, he took it down. Like the original guy who put it up took it down, and I'm like, oh, but so funny. It was the funniest video. It's lost to time. I think it's considered.
That's the type of shit I expect from the Schaefer Reddit.
Oh boy.
I guess I could go back. We should probably go. Let's go back to the plot of the movie, like this thing, since we've been talking a lot about everything around it and how it's like been such a
everything ever all at once
for Disney as a whole. So like,
I think honestly, part of it, just like ignoring Dinosaur, which is kind of its own weird experiment. This was the first Disney movie where they're like, all right, we're CG now.
Yeah,
and they only
went
back down
part
with
of
like
the
Princess and the Frog and Winnie the Pooh. It's like the first one. Which one? The animation and character designs, I don't think have aged very well.
Yeah, the
I can kind of forgive it.
We haven't mentioned the animation. It has not aged well.
Yeah,
design looks really stiff today.
it came out after The Incredibles, which is pathetic.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
especially like because things honestly, the only Pixar movie that I don't think kind of hold like Toy Story 1. There's some stuff from like
Yeah.
stated, but honestly, I think everything after like Toy Story 2, I'd still say holds up well, like CG wise.
I think A Bug's Life still holds up pretty well in terms of visuals.
Finding Nemo
Yeah, no,
because like they knew what they were doing. They just know what stuff that'd be.
The most Finding Nemo holds up really well.
You're right though. Yeah. Like Toy Story 1 is definitely the Pixar movie that has aged the worst in terms of visuals, but I think because the story and characters are so good in that first movie that I ultimately don't care that the animation hasn't aged that well.
It can age worse. It can age much worse. Like I've seen
Toy Story, the first CG animated film.
Yeah, so you can yeah, but the characters in the story are so good in the first Toy Story that you tend to forgive it. Whereas Chicken Little, they don't. They're not very good. Like the story and characters in Chicken Little are bullshit. So so not only is it a bad movie conceptually, it's a bad movie visually as well. So you're just like, oh, this is ugly.
Also, another thing I want to bring up is the stupid ending. I'll admit, like the one thing I like about the ending.
The ending kind of made me laugh. Like the end with the stupid Adam West parody. I kind of like that.
Like Adam West. Abby. It was so stupid, but I found it kind of ironically funny.
Yeah, I loved hearing Adam West just being
Patrick Warburton playing one of the alien things.
It's always nice hearing Patrick Warburton show up in a movie.
Especially
I'm an alien with 3 eyes, Beater.
That's a good impression.
Why is Yogurt Night so difficult?
It just feels like the ending with the aliens, like I don't know. The ending when it turns out, okay, so the aliens were never gonna never gonna destroy her. If it turns out they were just getting groceries there, I don't know. It just was really stupid. And
if they weren't invading them, then why were they chasing everybody? As if they were invading. Yeah, why were they attacking them? Like, what's that all about? Then it's like, sorry guys.
Especially
we almost destroyed you. It's like, well, why didn't you just come down and be like, hey, we lost our son? Like,
and the reveal is that Chicken Little was right when the sky was falling a while ago, because it turns out a piece from the ship thing fell. And apparently that was right the whole time, I guess.
Well, yeah. So like, was it a piece of the ship? But then like
Chicken Little would have gotten a concussion if that hit him on the head.
But also like when like at the end when like the ships start coming down, like it breaks apart, you can kind of see like a city above. So it's like, is there like just a city above the town? Like what's happening here? Like this doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Like, it's kind of a stupid ending.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of undermines the movie in a way too, because like, I guess there wasn't any actual conflict. They were just looking for their kid the entire time.
It was just, and then the entire climax just involves Buck Cluck and Chicken Little trying to get the kid back to their parents.
Yeah, it's really weird, and it doesn't feel earned is the thing. No. It does not feel earned in the slightest. I will say, I do love the gag when like the alien looks at his watch and it's a 3-eyed Mickey. Like that image is stuck with me. Like even as a kid, I thought that was really funny, and like it's kind of stuck with me throughout the years.
Like, okay,
yeah, it's like Disney. I get it, but I don't know. I think it's funny. But I mean, again, if that's literally the only thing, if that's one of the biggest compliments I have for the movie is like this one frame of like a 3-eyed Mickey, it's like, I'm literally grasping at straws here trying to defend it. It's not very good.
Yeah, it's hard to it's I don't know. I can understand people being entertained by it, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, it is purely entertainment. Like I said, this is nowhere near top tier Disney in its 2000s era. Like I said, stuff like Emperor's New Groove, Treasure Planet, Atlantis, Meet the Robinsons, like that is top tier Disney in terms of their 2000s movies. This is not dinosaur, but saying it's not dinosaur is not really a very high bar for praise. Yeah.
I guess like I don't know if I have really anything else to say. There's some bad pop references, annoying pop music.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, so I don't know if this was with anyone else. Anyone else find Chicken Little's like voice kind of like I don't
He
think that
sounds
fits,
too grown up. He doesn't
He's
sound
too
like a
deep.
kid.
I don't.
He's voiced by Zach Braff randomly enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of took me out of it a lot. I
Yeah.
He
was
has a
just like,
distracting voice. Yeah, that's a good point. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't sound like a kid.
Yeah, he
It's,
just sounds
weird.
like Zach
everyone
Braff.
else in school, everyone else in the school sound like kid. Like even the pig who has like this, who's just so big, and again he's fat. That's all the jokes they make about him. Like he
Yeah.
sounds much more like a kid than Chicken Little, who's Chicken.
Yeah.
His name is literally Chicken Little. He should sound more like a kid than anyone else should.
I think in a weird way.
Fun
though, I
fact
feel they
about
kinda-
Runt. Fun fact about Runt. He's played by Steve Zahn,
Yeah, I know.
the dad in Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh,
Put General
he was?
Grant
Oh,
on the
man.
thermostat.
I wish I noticed that. That guy was alive. I think weirdly enough, Chicken Little having like a really deep voice partially kind of helps the movie be less depressing. Because if he had like an innocent,
I guess.
like an innocent childlike voice while everyone was shitting on
That
him,
would
that'd be
make
just
it a bit
depressing.
more sad. That's a good point.
Yeah,
That
that's a
would be
good point.
miserable. I would
Yeah.
not like that.
Yeah, that would have made it even more mean-spirited, and the movie's already pretty mean-spirited. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think we've gone a lot. We had a lot to say about this movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot to say.
it's a fascinating movie. I think just the last thing kind of have about it because I was trying to get into it earlier. There's like their first CG thing. I think they were just. This movie feels very try hard, as if we've kind of gone over. Like they're like
Yes.
trying to seem like, oh man, we're cool,
We're
edgy.
cool.
We're not like this ain't your grandma's Disney movie. They try to like.
Yeah.
But I think honestly,
references, we
part
got
of
pop
that.
music. We got
Part of that, I think they're just
mean-spiritedness.
trying to make like an overly good impression now because they're like, all right, we're CG now. We have to like. I think they really wanted this movie to do well because famously, 2000s were a good time for a quality Disney. I think mostly, just not like financially. Famously, Atlantis and Treasure Planet and Home on the Range, and I believe also Brother Bear. They all bombed. Which, I mean, that wasn't even the movie's fault. Disney just always released them beside like the biggest movies.
Yeah.
Oh, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets was like the same weekend as Treasure Planet. No shit, Treasure Planet's gonna bomb.
Yeah, that never stood a chance.
So, yeah, I think overall point that's partially why this movie's so like not edgy, but you know what I mean. It's trying way too hard to just grab people's attention,
Yeah.
and I think it worked well. I'll find the exact numbers now, but I think this did better than like a chunk of those Disney movies from that
I
time.
think
You
so.
know, even still, it doesn't
Pretty sure.
translate very. Hold on. Box office. I know this did like decently well. It was like 150 million budget, and then like 314 at the box office.
150
That's like-
actually. Oh,
that's
kinda
all right.
odd.
It
Yeah, I
made it
guess
funny,
so.
but
And it gets a
definitely
big
not
go for a
anything
pretty
compared to
troubled
like
production.
Pixar at the time.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
that
this
was
was
like-
not making Pixar money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's funny that like they tried to make it their first CG. They're just like, oh, look at us, we're doing our first CGI movie, and again,
now
the
to
CGI
this
doesn't
day,
look
it's one
great.
of the most hated upon
Yeah.
Disney movies. So.
There's this
And
one
another
scene
part of
where
it,
like
they're like trying to prove they can make successful movies without Pixar, and technically they did. This made money, but like,
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
needed
Really
that
proving
they needed
themselves.
Pixar.
Honestly, we've talked
Yeah.
so much about this movie. We could probably just dedicated the entire video to it. Like honestly, we
Yeah.
talked compared to
Maybe we
Vertigo.
should've.
We talk much
Maybe we
more about
should.
this movie compared to
I think we
Vertigo.
talked about Vertigo a lot though.
Yeah,
No, we
true,
talked about
but
both.
I had much more to
Yeah.
say about this one.
Wait, that's another thing I was gonna
That's
bring
fair.
up. So when Chicken Little like struck the bell or whatever, I was just thinking of the part in Vertigo where he's like climbing up the tower.
Oh my god, yeah.
Both these movies had clock towers.
That's
We did
one
it.
thing-
Yeah,
okay,
so
that's
that's
the
what-
only reason
it's
we
not-
put these two films together.
That's what like
No
linked
reason.
these movies together in my mind in like the stupidest way
It's the
possible.
closest thing that these two
That's
films have.
funny.
These two films that are
Yeah.
completely different in quality have in
That's
common.
funny.
Anyways,
That's
should we
funny.
get to our ratings? Because I think it's time.
I think so.
Yeah, unless you guys have anything else.
I
think
think
we covered it
so.
pretty thoroughly.
I've made my peace with this movie. I'm not with a lot of you. I'm not with you guys where I think it's like the worst thing I've ever seen. I will not defend it as like a great movie. Like if people hate it, I completely understand why.
I can understand if someone was entertained by it. But like,
Yeah.
while like I said, I find some stuff humorous. It's just not
Mhm.
enough for me to like actually say it's ironically funny. So I'm gonna have to
Sure.
give this a pretty harsh rating, but 2 out of 10. It's awful.
That's fair.
I think I'd go like. I think I gave this like I logged it as a 2, but I think more about it, it's like a 3. I think because it's terrible, but I don't think I hated watching it. If anything, it was a fascinating watch.
It's
blatantly
fascinating,
was not
regardless
Yeah.
of my
good.
hatred for a lot of things
Yeah.
about it.
I'm gonna go 4 out of 10 with a heart.
alright.
Just because
No,
I am nostalgic for it.
Yeah.
I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
I would sooner watch a bunch of other movies I'm nostalgic for, like Shark Tale, Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Like I can think of a bunch of other movies I actually grew up watching that I would rather watch than this. But
Yeah.
I'm not quite there as hating it as much as you guys would. But
Yeah, frankly, I'm nostalgic for most of the Pixar movies, like around those
Same.
times.
Well,
I don't
yes.
put on any of those.
yeah, when it comes
Yeah.
to like good movies I'm nostalgic for, yes, stuff like The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, both Toy Stories, Monsters Inc. Like I'm gonna be watching those tenfold over Chicken
Yeah.
Little.
Anyways, yeah, that's it. That's our 2 in-depth discussion. We talked about one film more than the other, but I think it all made for a interesting discussion about clock towers in film.
It was a good contrast. We were talking about like the thematic purpose of a rear window, and they were like, so anyway, a buck clock. It
We
was
talked about
interesting.
remember, you always have to listen to
Contrast
your
there.
children, even if they have nothing to say.
Yeah.
Alright.
Or take
Yeah.
advice. Anyways,
Well,
thanks
thanks
for
again for coming on, Hal.
yeah,
by
thanks
the way,
for
this is
coming
a-
on. Go check
yeah,
out
good
his
old-
podcast, Too Many
A
Movies.
good time was had by
Yeah.
all.
Heard you're
I'm proof.
reaching your big episode 50 soon. Heard you're
Yeah.
reaching that. So,
I'm
congrats.
recording episode 50 tomorrow, so looking
Nice,
forward to that.
nice.
I
Yeah.
can't believe you watched the 50 greatest cartoons ever made. Jeez.
Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
It's good to have you. Go check out Hal's podcast. We'll be back next week with some new release stuff, since you know we'll finally be talking about the films starring everybody's favorite criminal, Ezra Miller. And then
Nice.
and then we'll finally talk about this obscure indie film you probably never heard of. I don't know, maybe called Across the Spider-Verse. Maybe you never heard of it before. You probably haven't.
No,
but
never heard of it.
yeah.
No.
Stay tuned. And then there's also 2 other Disney products that I won't mention. But yeah, stay tuned.
Ooh.
Stay tuned
Next
for
one's
that.
going to be our big catch-up video.
Yeah, we have
So,
been kind of
look forward
slacking
to
on our
that.
new release stuff. We sometimes like talking about that every now and again. So might as well do
Yeah.
something like that. And so stay tuned for that episode. Stay tuned for other episodes. And thank you for tuning in for another
Right,
episode.
everyone?
Yeah. And yeah,
Keep
thanks for watching.
the
See ya.
And also, remember to watch the skis.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, all right. See ya. Thanks for watching.